Something is brewing in Ladakh, and it has to do with this man, Sonam Wangchuk. Now, sidebar. If you watched Three Idiots, you'll remember that Amir Khan played a character called Phangsuk Wangdu, who's loosely based on the life of this man. Now, Wangchuk, who's the real life guy, is an engineer from Ladakh who has dedicated his entire adult life to improving the lives of the people of Ladakh, to actually protecting its very delicate ecosystem and to finding scientific solutions for their everyday problems. For example, he, his brother and a couple of other founders started something called the Students' Education Cultural Movement of Ladakh. On a completely solar-powered campus, they come up with solutions for the people, like this ice stupa that they came up with, which freezes the water in the winter and it thaws out in summer just in time for people to use it for agriculture. Now, he's been the recipient of numerous awards that acknowledge the work that he has been doing for the people of Ladakh. He is currently on a fast unto death. And he is not alone in this protest. On the 3rd of February, thousands of men and women in Ladakh actually braved freezing temperatures as they came out to protest, demanding a statehood for Ladakh and causing a full shutdown of Leh and Kargil. Now, people of 8 different tribes came together in protest in a way that has never been seen before. This visual that you may or may not have seen in mainstream media. In fact, Wangchuk on that day made a statement to the press where he said people came out in large numbers, which is unprecedented. 1/3 of the adult population came out to tell the government that it was not the voice of one person, but everyone who wants to safeguard the region. Last week, on Wednesday, when the Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited J&K for the first time, again there was a massive protest in Ladakh, which saw a complete shutdown of Leh. What are these people protesting and what are they asking for? Now, here are their demands. First of all, full statehood for Leh. That's the first demand that they're making. Second, the inclusion of Ladakh in the 6th schedule of the Constitution, giving it tribal status, and the establishment of a public service commission for secure jobs for Ladakhis within the government. And finally, a parliamentary seat for Leh and for Kargil. Now, in his videos that he has posted on social media so far, Wangchuk has said that in the lead up to the 2019 election, the BJP manifesto promised the people of Ladakh that they would be included under the 6th schedule. But the BJP has forgotten that promise, he said. Let's trace this back and I'll take it piece by piece. So you'll remember back in 2019, there was the abrogation of 370. Now, when that happened, there's Jammu, Kashmir, Kargil and Leh, which is the Ladakh area. The 370 got lifted from all of it. Now, along with 370 getting repealed, there was also 35A. Now, 35A basically gave protection to the local people, saying nobody from outside who is not domiciled can come and buy land or property or can occupy certain government jobs. This was reserved for the people of that area. Now, the Buddhist majority Leh district celebrated initially the removal of 370 from Jammu and Kashmir because fundamentally they believed they were getting stepchild treatment from political parties who were fundamentally Kashmir focused. Remember, it was all one state. And they felt that the Kashmiri-based politicians were not paying enough attention to Ladakh. But the celebrations didn't last too long because, like I said, first of all, when they were separated into 2 union territories, the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir was given a legislature, which means they will actually vote eventually at some point and choose their own state MLAs, right? And those MLAs will be able to represent them in the decisions that are made. But Ladakh was turned into a union territory without a legislature, which means they will have no elected representatives and their decision will be completely run by the bureaucracy and by the LG who will come from outside and who will not actually be people who grew up in the region. Now, this deeply disappointed the people of Ladakh. In fact, Wangchuk had said in an interview to The Hindu last year, he said, "We have zero representation. The LG, who is an outsider, is sent to govern us. One man will decide everything. The 6,000 crore rupees allocated to Ladakh will be at the dispensation of a non-elected person. He will make any decision under pressure or financial gain. By the time he understands the issues, it will be time for him to go again." So before the abrogation, Ladakh had been represented by 4 members in the Jammu and Kashmir state government at the assembly, by 2 in the Legislative Council and a Speaker and an MP. Right now, it only has an MP in Parliament who doesn't have a portfolio, and it also has 2 autonomous hill development councils. It's not really clear what their powers are. So this is one of the major things that's making them unhappy. They have no elected representation, and a democracy is based on elected representation. So that is what they're asking for. The second thing, just as important, when Article 370 was knocked out, like I told you, along with it went Article 35A, which basically prevents anyone who doesn't have domicile from buying property and occupying government jobs. Ladakh also lost that protection. Now the people are worried that this very sparsely populated, very cold, arid desert will be overrun by people from outside, that will cause demographic changes, language changes, will dilute their tribal culture. Now in 2021, the administration, for example, wanted to hold what they call the Sindhi Mahakumbh in Ladakh. It had to be cancelled because people just protested so much against it. The government then wanted to rename the health centers in the villages the Ayushman Arogya Mandirs. That had to be rolled back because they rejected the language change. So really, people in Ladakh have very specific culture, specific language, specific food. They want that to be protected, and they don't want to just basically be painted over. So that is one of the things that they're protesting. Ladakh has also recorded a very sharp rise in the number of unemployed graduates between 2021 and 2023. Now remember, a government survey has pointed out that almost a quarter, more than a quarter, 26.5% of the graduates in Ladakh are currently unemployed because the government jobs that used to be reserved for the local Ladakhis are no longer reserved for them. In fact, the local president, the former president of the local BJP unit, made a statement saying, and I'm quoting, "We're not saying that we will shut Ladakh for investments, but we should have a say in it as to which area is being developed and for what purpose." When they talk about a mega solar project and thousands of acres of land are required, it's not that the land is unused. It sustains wildlife, medicinal herbs, and nomads who migrate. People from outside think that this land is of no use. End quote. So Ladakh has experienced, in fact, since then, multiple shutdowns, multiple protests, multiple street demonstrations over the last 4 years that are growing in number, that unfortunately do not get enough space on mainstream media or in the minds of our politicians, which is why the people of Ladakh ask that they be included in the 6th schedule. Now, the 6th schedule is a specific schedule in the Constitution that guarantees protection in land and offers autonomy, so the ability to make your own decisions for the country's tribal areas. And there are many parts of the Northeast that come under 6th schedule. So the idea here is, in every tribal space, they're able to sort of make their own decisions and decide how they want to use their land, decide how they want to use their resources. In Ladakh, more than 97% of the population belong to scheduled tribes, which is why they're asking, bring Ladakh under the 6th schedule. That will give us some ability to make decisions about ourselves. Now, this is not a recent demand. It first came up in September 2019, a month after the abrogation of 370. The National Commission for Scheduled Tribes had recommended the 6th schedule status for Ladakh. In 2020, a range of political, social and different outfits in Leh district came together and they formed the People's Movement for the 6th schedule for Ladakh. Now, among them were also local BJP, local Congress and local Aam Aadmi Party people. There was, of course, part of Ladakh is Kargil, which is Muslim dominated. They went with the demand of the Gupta Alliance in Kashmir, asking that the whole thing be rolled back to its original 2015 status. Now, basically, neither of those demands have been met. So now Kargil and Leh have now been demanding a separate state for themselves. So far, there's been no response at all from the government. And according to Quint, on the 4th of March, the central government made it clear that they could not meet the expectations of people. However, some safeguards can be extended. Over a dozen leaders who were representing prominent civil society groups camped in Delhi on the 4th of March as talks are going on with the high-powered committee for Ladakh headed by the Minister of State for Home Affairs, Nityanand Rai. Now, a member of the Kargil Democratic Alliance who attended the talks has said that even though the first few rounds of talks were positive, the government made it clear in the last round that they aren't going to extend the 6th schedule or give statehood for Ladakh. He added that it also detailed a conversation with the Home Minister Amit Shah in which It did not amount to much. He said, the Home Minister, however, said they can't provide 6th schedule or statehood for Ladakh. Now, this is why this is super important, not just for the people of Ladakh, but also for the environment, for the rest of the country, for national security, and for the central government. Remember, the Indo-China border in Ladakh is extremely sensitive. In eastern Ladakh, it's remained sensitive since 2020, since the clashes in Galwan Valley. And that is something that the Indian government has taken very seriously. It's also invested a lot of money in that space in infrastructure development, partly for the people of Ladakh, but mostly keeping an eye on national security. Ladakh has seen 750 kilometers of roads being either constructed or upgraded, 29 new bridges, 30 new helipads being built. In addition, an all-weather Bilaspur-Manali-Leh railway line is also in the works, we understand. Also, recent newspaper reports have said that Ladakh is rich in natural resources which have been found in Ladakh. High-quality uranium deposits have been found in Ladakh. Rare earth minerals, which are vital raw materials for modern technology, are also found in parts of Ladakh. At present, India has to import 95% of its rare earth supplies. There is abundant, of course, land and water resources, and the stage is set to make Ladakh an electronic manufacturing hub and a data center. In 2021, New Delhi solidified plans to build 7 hydroelectric projects in Ladakh, and of course, along with the existing hydro plants, also solar power projects, giant solar power projects in Ladakh. Now, this is all massive development. On the other hand, as has been pointed out by Wangchuk and several other people, Ladakh is extremely sensitive because of the elevation that it is at, because it actually has a large amount of the snow that controls, it's called the third pole of the earth because of the amount of snow that is in our Himalayan region. And if that is disturbed or melts out, it will not only cause flooding, but it will cause severe water problems, not just to the people of Ladakh, but to all of the people actually currently now living in the Himalayan plains and where that water actually runs down through our rivers. So actually, ecologically, it's extremely sensitive and it deserves to be protected from any argument. On one hand, we're talking about all of this massive construction and infrastructure, which will obviously be a good thing, but has to run hand in hand with perspective on the sensitive ecology and can't just be overrun. And thirdly, finally, the people of Ladakh itself who feel, well, just as you might have when I read out that entire list of construction, that it does seem like the whole thing is going to look completely different in a few years. And they're nervous about the fact that their culture, their language, their way of life will forever be changed and will never be the same again. For various reasons, Ladakh requires the attention of the government. Going into an election, though, it seems unlikely they will receive that attention right now. What it can receive is the attention of you and me as citizens, not just because there's one very interesting, perhaps very important person who's on a fast who deserves our support, but also because the people of Ladakh deserve the support of the rest of the citizens of India. We should perhaps spend a little more time reading about Ladakh, understanding what their way of life is, and deciding for each of ourselves if we want to do something to support them.